In the last episode, I shared with all of you the most common data types you're going to be working with in PowerShell. Today, it's Pro Tip Day. I'm going to show you a couple of variations of those data types. Welcome to my channel, everybody. I'm Jason Yoder. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer. And in this channel, I give you the questions that I get asked in my PowerShell, my Azure, and my Security Plus classes. So I generally get asked about data types. In the last episode, I gave you the 5 primary ones you're going to be working with in PowerShell. But today, like I said, it's Pro Tip Day. I'm going to be showing you a couple of variations of those different data types just in case you can utilize them. So we started off yesterday with the string data type, and that's where I'm going to start today. So I simply create a variable. I'm going to assign it a string. You can see that string is what's inside the double quotes. And string 1 contains an object that is of data type string. And of course, we can also cast our variables to hold specific data types. And that's something that we're going to be utilizing here as we continue through this video. Now, the string holds multiple characters, but there's actually a data type for holding just one character. That data type is Char or Char, however you want to pronounce it. So here, I'm going to force this variable to be data type Char. So here when I create this variable of type char or char, whatever you put it, you can see that it is recognized not as string, but it's recognized as data type char. Okay, so why is this such an issue? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take string 1, which we created a few minutes ago, and I'm going to ask PowerShell count up how many methods that are included with this particular type of an object. If you're not familiar with what a method is, it's simply software that's being provided as part of that package, that object. So if you think about it, if you use ping or ipconfig, that is software being provided by the operating system. Well, with each one of these objects, they can have methods, which is software that is provided with that particular object. So when I ask how many methods are available with data type string, I can see that there are 52. But with data type char, there is only 28. When I had this problem earlier in my career, what was happening is as a string was being read in from a text file, then I was using methods of data type string. Well, the methods of data type char aren't the same as the methods of data type string, and it was causing an error. Now, once I discovered what was happening, I just forced the variable to stay data type string. The problem was resolved. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of these other data types. This next one we're going to take a look at is a 16-bit integer. Now, by default, when you create a variable with a whole, non-fractional, non-decimal point number, PowerShell defaults to a 32-bit integer. Now, we can actually make that integer smaller. So if you're really concerned, maybe your code's going to be running on some type of a Linux device that doesn't have a lot of memory, you can conserve memory by not having such large numbers, or at least not having so much memory allocated to it. So a 32-bit integer has a minimum and a maximum value. Now, we can always switch to a 16-bit integer. Very easy to create. We just simply cast the variable to be of type int16, and it becomes a 16-bit integer. Now, its minimum and maximum values are smaller than that of a 32-bit integer, but that's fine, because if whatever value you're recording doesn't exceed that minimum or maximum value, go ahead and use a 16-bit integer. Now, some of these data types do have alternate names. In the case of a 16-bit integer, it can also be data type short. So when I cast int3 to be data type short, it's going to come back as a 16-bit integer. Now, let's say you need a really large number. That's where a 64-bit integer comes into play. Here you can see I'm creating int5, the variable int5, and I'm going to cast it to be a 64-bit integer. And a 64-bit integer has much larger or smaller numbers than a 32-bit integer. Now, an alternate name for a 64-bit integer is long. So if you cast something to be data type long, it is also going to be a 64-bit integer. As we learned in the previous episode, double is a data type that can have a decimal or fractional value. So let's take a look at the minimum and the maximum values that can be stored in double. Now, if these are just too big, you can save on memory by switching to data type single. Now remember, whenever you create a variable with a decimal value, it automatically becomes double unless you specify that this is going to be data type single. And we can see that its minimum and maximum values are a tad bit smaller. Now, something you need to be aware of when you're using single or double is there is a rounding off error. So if you're doing anything with financial calculations, there's actually a different data type you should be using. Here I'm going to create a variable of data type decimal. Now, decimal also does decimal places, and it can handle very large numbers. But this one does not have the rounding off error that you're going to get with single or double. And again, this is what you want to use if you're doing anything with financial values. Otherwise, you're going to get some incorrect financial calculations. And those are the alternate data types that you can use. So yes, every once in a while you will see something represented maybe as a 16-bit integer, simply because the author of that data knows that their number value is not going to go any larger than what a 16-bit integer can handle, and that helps to save memory. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe. Take care.